Bryan, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
I've been a big fan for a while. Definitely before I decided to pick up a camera myself, I've always been drawn to motorcycle photography. Building bikes or customizing bikes my entire life. You know, we would go to, early days, we go take it to get shot for a magazine, and I'd always be like, hey man, so what camera are you using? And you know, back in the early 2000s, there was that transition from digital to film. And a lot of them used to talk about how, well, the magazines all want digital now, but the books all want film. It was kind of a weird thing where like certain areas of publishing weren't going that way. But no, I'm a big fan. Glad you came up. Big thanks to Carlos for inviting me over there the other day. I didn't mean to just sneak up on you.
No. It was good to hang for sure. Show me around Dallas.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, like we were just saying, there's a great podcast that you did with Dan. I think the first one you did with him, you kind of ran through like your backstory, but just for the sake of giving our audience, you know, a little bit of backstory to you, like you're a very well-traveled man. You grew up all over the world for the most part. What was that like growing up? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's just like, you know, I was born in Singapore, and then my parents were, my dad was in oil and gas, so he was always getting transferred everywhere. Mm-hmm. So then I went to like Lagos, Nigeria for 3 years, mm-hmm. and then Calgary for a couple years, and then Jakarta, Indonesia from like 6 to 12. So it was always on the go, you know, but crazier places, you know.
Yeah.
Like in Lagos, they still had public hangings on the weekends.
Damn.
Yeah, and then Jakarta was like, it's either you're very well off there, affluent, or there's a lot of poverty.
Yeah, there's no middle class really.
No, not really. So it's a lot of crime and disparity and everything else. But that, I think from there, that's why I always wanted to stay moving and travel, and I get too bored.
Does that not, like, that kind of travel not pallet you to like also have wanderlust, like to want to see more, to like experience more, if you will?
For sure.
Like the cultural side of things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but I was like, I picked up a camera like pretty young, and like maybe 14, 15, messing around, and then, you know, my dad gave me his old Pentax.
Yeah.
You know, so I, you know, just photograph people and everything else, and then went to Lollapalooza in '93 with some friends, and then in Vancouver. Then the camera got stolen out of the car.
Oh shit!
You know, smash and grab, and and then outside of the Cecil Hotel, if any of your viewers know that place, but a little on the seedier side. Anyway, so then my parents gave me a better camera body for Christmas that year.
That's cool.
You know, and then.
Was it the Pentax? It wasn't the 645, or was it just a normal 35?
Automatic.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
And then I just went to art school out there.
Yeah.
Sort of accelerated it. Always had like a art and design background.
A lot of the people that I know that was really shooting photography and even more videography back in the 90s, it was like usually attached to either the music scene, the skate scene, or something of those two things. Were you more drawn towards the art side of it? Just like art, like what was it that took you into cameras? You know what I'm saying? Like over all the other art mediums.
Well, I was always like, most of the work at the beginning was like music stuff.
Okay.
You know, and then when I moved to New York, I was still shooting for a lot of those labels and everything else. But it was just always people for me. But you know, I had a lot of skater friends, and then all my I played a lot of baseball and football, and then my art friends, all these different groups of people I'd bounced through. You know, and then but it was always start off of portraiture. You know, the person, their story. You know, like.
You can see that in your work for sure. Like you do a lot of like just capturing people. There's an art to that though. Like,
for sure.
I took my camera to bike night last night and didn't even hit the shutter button once because I wanted to do that. I wanted to just pull people aside and hey man, just want to take your a portrait of you. And I just fucking froze. I just put the camera back up and started drinking.
But I think, just like saying hi, and having a little bit of a rapport and conversation, and then maybe a little later say, hey, do you mind if I take your photo? You know, it's just like.
There's something, I started to notice this getting, just looking through social media and seeing how a lot of photographers would tend to lean towards certain characters, right?
Yeah.
So your Danger Dan character or your Bernie,
Barney.
Barney.
Yeah.
Well, what's his name that does the Sherpa stuff?
Sorry, Bear. That's
Bear. That's right. So you get these characters in these, especially in this bike culture, right? And that becomes way more just interesting to look at or to photograph. You know what I mean? Because there's usually something behind that. right?
Yeah, but you'll see some of those people, maybe there's that guy with the most amazing beard or cool tattoos and everything else. And that people are just walking by and like sneaking a photo of him and sort of like going off and stuff. But, I would rather just go say hi, introduce myself, find out where they're from, get a name, and then you build that rapport, and then they're like, oh, you know what? Hey, check out my bike is just over here. Or here's my new tattoo. You know, and they'll give you this access that you wouldn't have if you just
snapped and walked away.
Left, and then some guys they get pissed off if people don't even ask them. So I know a smile goes a long way.
You got to inherently be interested, like in them. Right?
Oh, yeah, for
like,
sure.
Not just like I want what you want from it. Like I want this photo, but you inherently get interested in that person. And even that short conversation, you would get to know them, right?
Yeah, and even when they say where they're from, it's like within one or two people we know the same person.
Oh,
being around for so long, it's like, it's like I was hanging out with him yesterday, or going to the campsite tomorrow to see him. It's like it's pretty super super small world.
Yeah, especially in the bike world for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
What that first time you went to Sturgis, 98, like, what was that story again? Where the art school that you were at. Yeah. Basically,
well, just like those are the art school like film days and everything else. So 97, and I was buying all my film from this camera store, and this guy Dario, he's since passed, but Dario Argento, not the same name as the big Italian director, but coolest guy, and he would show me photos he would take of his biker buddies and their shops. He'd shoot like 8x10 film, and then he'd show me this place called Sturgis, South Dakota, and some pictures from there, and I was like, holy shit, my eyes popped out of my head. And he's like, Main Street and all these crazy photos. So I went there the next year. My buddy Mark and I just hopped in his Jeep and then drove there and from Calgary. And then I went to Hasselblad and Cannon, just wandered the streets. Yeah. And then, it's where I met the ice cream man from hell, Jimmy. He was literally my tour guide in Hewlett. It's just like he was the best, showing me around. And, and then that really, like, whet my appetite. Like, coolest people. Just portraits. And there was, like, obviously there's some cool bike stuff and everything else, but I was concentrating on people. If you look at that timeline of imagery that from there, it was mostly portraiture and environment, I guess,
The environment thing is something that I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to capture, like, I'm trying to train myself or at least understand that style of photography to see it. Does that make sense? Yeah. To recognize it, if you will.
But it's also, it's literally storytelling, like you want to, sometimes it's cool to have a little taste of a street sign or environment or time with that portrait or whatnot, to just give it place. Yeah. Like just to add another level, another texture, another background story.
That makes sense. Yeah.
You're enriching the image.
So real quick, just like out of my own ignorance, like when you're going to school for photography, other than the technical aspect of what I think most people, what every YouTube channel is about, like, what are you kind of what are they saying? Like, what's the directive or the narrative of teaching you how to, like, is it just more technical, or is there some kind of theory behind it?
Yeah, that program is like the Alberta College of Art and Design. Like, every instructor had to be a working professional. So they were all just part-time teachers and then working in their fields. Like they're sculptors or graphic designers, creative directors, or photographers, painters. So we had like real world experience. Okay. Yeah, so it was really great. I had some great teachers there and stuff like that. Very inspiring, and some of them were on, like, I guess back then it seems like they were younger, but they're probably like, late 30s, early 40s instructing and still doing their own thing.
I think they looked way older back then. 30 looked way older.
Exactly.
So
when you're in your 20s, it looks a little crazy. But yeah, it was, it was inspiring. But it was like 4-year programs. So there's like art history and then design and then a couple other like humanities courses and studio and everything else. But the cool thing about that art school is like you're around, painters, glass blowers and everything else. So I just hang out with different groups of artists and get inspired or throw ideas off each other or collaborate on things, and like, sculptors were making me crazy, like H.R. Geiger type boas and stuff for these shoots with these girls or props and stuff like that.
Oh, right? Yeah, it's cool to kind of infuse these different types of art mediums and whatnot together.
And it helps each other out,
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a great time for sure. It was like, I wouldn't give it up for anything,
Yeah, like going, like these days, picking up a camera, really wanting to learn. I mean, YouTube's like got everything, right? There's as far as like technical aspect of it, and it gets hard to watch like sometimes until you find like a good creator that's teaching you some of the philosophies behind certain things, and going down those paths. Like it's easy to, for me, I've had not. It's been kind of simple to kind of go through certain areas, but when it comes to environmental, which I guess could kind of play a little bit into some street style photography, if you will, maybe. But also like I'm trying to convince all my other friends to be photographers so that I can have somebody to nerd out with all the time.
Yeah. Call me anytime.
Yeah. It's just one of those things, like finding people that you can kind of, like you said, like be inspired by, but also be around them, see them shoot, see them work.
Push each other,
yes,
for sure, right?
Yes, 100%, yeah.
Good wingman.
Yeah, that it's one of those things, like going back, like fuck, I wish I would have dabbled in that. My son's mom at the time was going to a college here in Dallas Fort Worth, and she was studying photography, but it was during the transition of like 2004 where they still had dark rooms in the deal, and so she had to have a digital and a film camera, and I just thought it was rad as hell when she would shoot like and then go into the room and enlarge, and part of me wants to kind of do that stuff again, get back into it, but like that's just another hobby that goes down the rabbit hole. Have you pushed film aside at all, or do you ever pick it up anymore?
Well, it's like the last few shows I've had, like most of the captures are digital. So we make size as negatives, and then we contact print them size as, and then develop it in the black and white chemistry. So then it's on fiber-based paper, and we're using different chemicals to get those specific looks that I have.
Oh, so it's a digital photo that's being kind of processed more the way you would, or printed more like the way you film.
You made a negative, basically.
Okay,
yeah. So it's like, and then it's on the fiber-based paper. It's archival, and then it gets back. It's an extra step to bring it back into the fine art world. Whereas, like for me, I don't like to do like inkjets or anything else. Everything has to be on like C41 for color paper or.
Yes, I'm wanting to learn how to do that stuff, because printing is like the next thing I want to do. But the inkjet, some papers, some ways I feel like it accomplishes what I want, but it doesn't feel.
Yeah. Yeah, doesn't really feel real to me.
Exactly. And like the metal stuff, it's like it's good for a purpose of certain areas, but I don't know. Like I don't want to put a metal print above my couch at home. You know what I mean? I'd rather it be,
And then, obviously, like collectors and stuff, they expect to see it as an archival work of art, in that sense. But
yeah, photography, it felt like one of the guys I was learning from, he was talking to me about this like early on, and he said in the 2000s they really had a hard time getting into galleries and stuff, because he felt like a lot of galleries didn't really view photography as more of an art form. Did you ever deal with any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I went through that whole time. I remember all that, but there's still some people that are not into it either. There's still some animosity towards it, but a lot of people have sort of realized.
Things and I mean, it's like the hobby to get into. You know what I mean? It seems like it's like one of those. There's such a wide array of like cameras that you can kind of start with and work your way up, and it seems like it's. When people think of like, I need to get a hobby, they always seem to lean into photography a little bit for a while, and then it either sticks or it doesn't. But with it being so popular now through social media and everybody trying to take better photos for their platforms and whatnot, it's just, I feel like the whole market's just boomed. You know what I mean?
But I always encourage people, or I'd gladly help anybody trying to get into photography or art, painting, anything. It's like, but definitely anything you want to do there's a YouTube video on it or anything else. But you just have to really focus on what your subject matter should be, and then being good at that, and like I mentioned earlier, just sort of embedding yourself and having access. Like access is the most important part. Like, if you're gonna hang out with like musicians or whatever, maybe be a big fan or play with them or help them tour, whatever. Like if you're touring with a band, you're gonna get better access than if you're just popping into a show.
You can shoot something that's not very seen.
Yeah, exactly.
From the normal person.
There's not you're the only photographer there. Right? Or they trust you with the intimate moments or whatnot. Or hey, we're gonna do some really cool shit over here. This is gonna explode. Come over here. Stand right over there. Stuff like that. This access is key, and have a camera and know what to.
So with you going to Sturgis, like, how long do you feel like it took for you to really start getting into the circles? And because like your story of meeting Indian Larry is pretty wild, in my opinion.
Well, it's like, so I was like, obviously I got hooked on the biker stuff. It's like I went back there in 2001 again, and then was photographing, and then I met up with Ice Cream Man from Hell.
Yeah.
Showed me around, and then this other guy, Barney, he's on my site with the awesome American flag tattoo, big beard. And I always get him a stogie, and we hang a couple cigars. We hang out for like an hour. So I just keep revisiting these people every year when I was there. I sort of, and then this woman, Debbie Welke, I would stay at her place or one of her properties. Just camp in her yard. And then there's always the people that would camp every year there, right? So it sort of started to build my second family, a Sturgis family. And then. So they, that opened my eyes to a lot of avenues of people and events happening, and then 2003 when I went back, that was like all the biker build-off stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was pretty comfortable photographing in the biker community, so I was taking like pretty cool-looking, grizzled, rough biker guys, and then like pairing them with like a hot bartender.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Camel Roadhouse. So then I shot a couple of them, and I see like. I didn't know at the time, Indian Larry go by in his chopper. I'm like, that guy looks pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like I should get him, right? And then he came walking in there, and I introduced myself, and we took some photos, and then I just moved to New York, 2002, and he's like, and I knew two people when I moved there, like my agent and my buddy Mike. He's like, come by the studio or the shop. I'll introduce you to everybody, and so we took some photos, and I dropped by like 2 weeks later. And then a lot of those photos of Larry were from that day.
Yeah.
I
mean, how like they're iconic images of Larry though, and like for his legacy and everything that it's been built since then. It's like a lot of those images that you took in that time are like how I think a lot of us remember him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's got to be an honor to be able to do something like that. You know?
Goosebumps right now.
Yeah.
He's just the most inviting guy. He's like introduced me to like Paul Cox and Kano, and then Bobby was there, I think, and other people, in the background hanging out at the shop, and then, that sort of springboarded me motorcycle wise and builder wise, because then I started doing a lot of work with Paul Cox and all his bikes and stuff like that, and still to this day, like.
Yeah, I haven't met him yet, but my buddy Rennie, he was one of the other builders on the FXR tour. And he was building an FXR kind of as paying homage to a style of Indian Larry's bikes. And got real close with Paul Cox throughout the thing, and Paul did a seat for him like that.
Oh, yeah.
Which, from what I understand from Paul, it's like you're on a waiting list for a while to get a seat from him, a tooled one.
He's literally a master worker as well. Like he's been tooling, I think he's 9 years old. I've filmed him do a whole seat, It's incredible. Like, just...
all that, I mean,
he's
not just that. I mean, he's like, it's almost like once you learn one craft, then you understand how to learn.
Yeah.
So you start applying that towards all these other, crafts, if you will, or endeavors. And I mean, he's a master builder now. I mean, he's building killer shit.
Yeah, and so many things. Even his illustration is incredible. So we'll do time lapse of him drawing the bike, and then so I've got photos of the initial drawing, and then we'll shoot the final bike like however long, maybe 6 months or a year later, and then I'll pair the two images together. And then he's definitely helped me out too with giving me some recommendations and vouching for me for sure.
You kind of said like the Sturgis family. It's almost like, and we were saying this I think before we turned the mics on, how small the community is. So it's almost like you're like 1 or 2 degrees of separation from each other. Like I know one other person who he also knows this guy, or you know what I mean. So it's kind of if you're persistent, you can kind of get your way into circles, if you will.
Yeah, it opens a lot of doors too.
Yeah,
and then I'm totally back to smiling and being cool. You know? It's like it helps
being
a
chill,
lot for sure. No stress.
So what pushed you to go to New York? Like after college and whatnot?
Yeah, just like it was Tokyo or New York were my two spots after art school. But then my Japanese was obviously not very good, But even though I am a quarter Japanese, but my grandma wouldn't teach me. But so that's why I still no tattoos.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, very strict Japanese.
Damn.
It's all the Yakuza gangster stuff or whatever. But, but New York was just like, I think that's the best place in North America for advertising photography.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do it legally, so I went to Toronto first and then got a job at a studio. And I worked there for a year, and then a year and a half, I got an agent in Manhattan, and then they did my work visa like petition my O1. So I went down there legally, and then got down there and started hustling from there.
You know, the agent thing, I don't feel like I hear about that a lot. Is that like to really, you know, pursue these type of career paths? Is that like the best way to go?
It depends, you know, like although a lot of photographers I talk to, they're always bitching about their agent, you know, a lot of the time, but there's a lot of people that like are just self-rep that are, you know, doing great. But it depends in the fields, if it's, you know, automotive or pharma, or it depends. It gives you a little, I don't know, sometimes the agencies will trust a photographer with a rep because they think they have more backing and everything else, support.
Yeah, and then I guess maybe companies are going to look to an agency to see what kind of, you know, portfolios are there, to see if they can fit. It's just kind of more of a curated version of finding, you know, a handful of photographers or artists. And
and those agencies have their connections too, and there's certain people that will always approach that agency first and ask for recommendations. You know, there's always positives and negatives on both sides for sure. But
what other things have you like been very interested in photographically, other than, you know, the biker culture and maybe portraits solely?
Yeah, like sort of subcultures or just different events off the map. You know, like I have a huge project on like monster mud trucking and the private mud bogs and stuff like that. Fuck it, it's the best.
Well, like the rednecks of paychecks type stuff?
Yeah, I went to that St. Joe one.
Oh, shit.
Like a year and a half ago. It's like, it's super, super fun. You know, like these trucks and mudding, and everyone's having a great time, you know? Like I've been there, Florida, like Maine, New York, some stuff in Mississippi. Yeah, a bunch of different places. Working on that. And then
tell them we're in a podcast. We have to come back later.
Okay, yeah.
we can hold for a second if you want.
That's fine.
Well, no, you want him to come back?
Yeah, come back. It's sorry.
Oh, no problem.
No, they were. I was having when it rains here, the toilet doesn't flush all the way.
Yeah.
So
I just pissed in the top of the tank.
No,
I'm joking.
But they had where to work right now, but they got to come do some fixing and shit. But no, that's all. So yeah, say that again. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked with that.
You want to start again from
just
that?
the mud, you know, the rednecks paychecks. Like how
Yacht Club. You know, like it's just Americana to me, like pure Americana.
Okay.
You know, it's like people having fun, like obviously like diesel burning, you know, trucks and like tractor pulls and just jumps and mud splashing and everyone, you know, bad decisions. Yeah. And there's, you know, no police there. There's always at least a couple deaths in weekend for sure. You know, so got to be careful. You have to definitely be careful where you pitch your tent.
Yeah.
You know?
Just have a truck land on you or some shit.
But people, there's obviously a lot of drinking and driving there, right?
Yeah,
you know, it's just like so.
That's what always scares me about certain campgrounds at Sturgis, like when you're camping in a tent.
Yeah.
Like I never camp close to the road just for that reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
like the little paths and
by
shit.
A tree or something totally out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to be flattened and wake up dead every weekend.
But that's kind of like the point of like why I like going to stay at the campgrounds in Sturgis, especially once I picked up a camera, because it's like you're no shortage of opportunities to capture something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it is something more environmental or there's so much going on, as opposed to like when you're in a hotel or at a house, it's kind of like
access, right?
Yeah.
For sure. And then, I'm just working a lot of First Nations powwows.
Oh, yeah.
So just like a lot of the dancing, and like I'd met some of the like elders and some other, you know, First Nations guys in the Calgary Stampede in 2017. And then, you know, just getting good access, and then they would take me back to where all the regalia is, and the costumes, and tell me stories about everything that's on their person, like, you know, like the beading or the buffalo this or the feathers. So I've been pretty into that lately, just documenting those powwows, but with a different, more fine art bent on it, a little more motion, and then some straight portraits, like classic portraits.
Nice.
So yeah, I'll probably have a show of that work in November in Toronto.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the show thing, man. That's like, now that like I said, this whole other world of photography opened up to me. You know, once it got past like wanting to shoot and buy and gear acquisition and doing all this, then it's like, okay, well, now I want books. Now I want to go see other photographs, like other like outside of what I think I like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I ask you about the you know, the other things outside of motorcycling. Like, how do you, you know, I don't know. Like, I guess I'm very shallow in the sense that I don't, you know, shallow in the way of like, I don't have a lot of depth. Like, I'm really just a nerd about motorcycling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I do enjoy other things, but I don't know how to embed my mind into that yet.
Well,
That
you should be finding inspiration from, you know, from music, from, you know, plays, from books, from like poetry, literature, right?
Yeah.
It can always be crossover. Like, always
Okay.
keep your eyes open for anything, right? It's like, you know, I was in Tokyo last week shooting some beach racing stuff, and then I was already over there, so I hung out for an extra like 10 days. You know, just not even walking around with the big camera, just with a Polaroid and Ricoh, my phone, just to change your mindset and everything else.
Okay.
You know, and just like I'd go to there's a Jinbocho is a district solely for books, right? So I sort of lost my mind there. I made a bit of a mistake. I went there like day 4 and bought, you know, I don't know, 80 pounds of books. I had to get a suitcase and shit. And then that went straight into a storage locker in Los Angeles when I got back. But you know, just like different books, bookstores, you know, it's just like I just absorbed so much from there, you know. And then,
So that's what I have been doing is like buying photo books and other books that aren't motorcycle related to kind of study, just to kind of immerse myself in the way that world looks visually. You know what I mean? To kind of, so that, like I said earlier, train myself to see that way.
Yeah, and gallery spaces, you know, it's just like I always hit galleries every city I'm in, you know, at least try and see some kind of show, right?
See, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, I haven't quite got to the gallery spaces yet and figure out how do you find them? Like, where do you know, do you just type in photography gallery or?
Yeah, or just certain districts have, you know, they sort of culminate together on certain streets and everything else. Obviously, every city is different, but, you know, and then just there's art news sites and everything else.
Okay,
and current shows, you know.
That's interesting, man.
And even food, you know, just like cooking and food can inspire, right? You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like when you're eating and happy and satiated, then you're like, oh shit, I should shoot this or do that. You know, it's like different things pop in your mind when you're sort of happy or content.
Yeah.
You know.
So that's why I feel like I've been trying to put myself in circles. Like there's a photographer that kind of, he doesn't come to our bike night for the bike night, but it's just the bar that he goes to. So I was following him for a long time, and then I found out that I was like, dude, because I went to one of his shows at another place, saw what he looked like, and then saw him at our bike night. And then, you know, I've been kind of a little too aggressive, like trying to hang out with him, to be honest with you, because I'm very excited about it. But he shoots a lot of landscapes, a lot of like he went out last week and shot some West Texas storms as they were coming in. And, you know, like I like want to be around people doing cool shit to watch them and learn and just absorb that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And but like you said, it's like you gotta smile and you gotta be kind of invited or welcomed into those things. Sometimes I can be a little forceful in my approach.
Not like headlock forceful.
Yeah, not that, but like just invite myself sometimes. You know what I mean? So trying to be a little more delicate with that stuff. But no, like finding those other ways of doing stuff, and that's part of like my trip this summer. I was mentioning to you, it's like it's scary because I'm such a goal person, and I'm trying to not have a goal on this trip. I'm trying to just let every day steer me in a direction, but maybe not on a path, right?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That'd be my only recommendation. Have that flexibility to go left, right, straight, or faster, whatever. You know, it's like you'll see certain things at certain times of days, or cool restaurants, shacks on the side of the wall, or
side of the road,
or you know, shops. It's like you never know, right? And then definitely when you meet these people, they'll tell you about other cool stuff too, right? And sort of snowballs.
It takes you. So what? Like after you finally got your bike in 19, like was the push to travel the way you travel now, or?
Well, it's just like, I had the motorcycle endorsement like in 2016, but then you know I was married, and it's like, oh, I should be working on the apartment and putting money into this and that, and then just you know it didn't happen, and then my wife, like, she's passed away in 2019 in March, like suddenly, right? And then
damn, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, no problem, but it was just like fluke accident, or you know, fluke thing, and then she had to be intubated for, you know, put under. You know, she told me she loved me. I told her I loved her, and then she was out for 2 weeks. Like, basically, it was like sepsis and kidney and organ failure. But I had to like literally take her off life support in like 2 weeks, and then
Damn, that's heavy, man.
Yeah, so it was like that 2019, I basically, lived in New York, and I just sort of got a little crazy for a while, just like late nights and trying to forget and couldn't sleep and then everything. So then I said, fuck it, I'm going to get a bike. So Shelly Rossmeyer, I borrowed my friend's Road King, rode around 20 minutes at the IKEA parking lot, and then flew to Daytona and bought that FX DLS from Shelly, the Rossmeyer, and then went around Daytona for 3 hours and then hit the road to Sturgis the next day.
Fuck.
And just learned how to ride the bike that way.
Damn, trial by fire, man.
Yeah, exactly. I took secondary roads all the way to Nashville, and then,
started working your way in.
Yeah, I dropped the bike a couple times here and there, but then, just got to Sturgis and, eyes wide open,
Damn. So, I mean, yeah, it's got to be intense. I mean, that's wild, man. It's actually a pretty romantic way to get into this.
Yeah, but I was like, and then, my buddy Mike and Francesco, I ran into like maybe a few hours past Nashville, Francesco and then Mike in Nashville, and then I rode with them into Sturgis for the next 2 days or whatever, so I had I learned a little bit from them there too, and then not that I wasn't really worried, I was just like, definitely just trying to figure everything out, and then just kept going from there. I went to Vancouver, and then Vancouver all the way through Canada and then back to New York.
Damn.
Yeah, just like, but just being on the road trying to stay busy, so you don't think about anything,
Yeah. So what's it like when you're traveling on a bike, because you've zigzagged across this country, like, can you even count how many times it's been?
I sort of stopped counting a little while ago, but last year alone was 5 times cross country, and then also that Mexico trip with Dan and Mike. But I'd have to go back and do the research on the Instagram posts and everything else and stuff like that. But usually it's like 2 or 3 times a year. Yeah. But last year was a little excessive, but it just worked out.
And you're basically just chasing work and opportunities like that for the most part, right?
Yeah, like I'll get hired for some bike events and everything else. So do stuff for like Indian, Harley, and then cover this, cover that. And then if I have other more commercial jobs, if I'll just leave the bike at a friend's shop or fly there, piggyback it, and then try and get a bunch of irons at the stove kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and just like I live pretty lean now. Like I've been renting out my apartment since March last year. Mm-hmm. So now I have like no home base, whereas before my apartment was always empty in New York because I was trying to move to California. Yeah, because just trying to be out of New York and leave those memories behind. It's like I love New York, but this is like it seemed like needless torture. Walking around kind of thing. So then I was in Daytona shooting Bike Week, and then I left Daytona March 13th, 2020, and rode cross country towards Los Angeles, where I shipped my camera gear there. And then each state was closing as I was getting across the country.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got there March 20th, 2020, like, LA's closed, stay home. Like, fuck, not the best way to start a new chapter,
That's a unique time, though, man. And
obviously riding around there was super cool. Like I rode Venice to Ventura County at like 1 in the afternoon. Not one person on the beach the whole way up. Just a cop car in every parking lot.
Yeah, that's where you were staying, is Venice area or what?
No, I was in Koreatown, but just like it's like obviously didn't look like an essential worker. It looked like an asshole in his black leather jacket and helmet riding around town, But so like the curfews started getting really crazy from like 12 to 11 all the way to like 5 p.m.
Damn.
So just racing around, and I was saying I was taking the long way to the grocery store, or get my.
Yeah, it was crazy. It never really got that strict here. I mean, the restaurant stuff was closed down, and you had like, I think it got more complicated once the mask thing came into play because everything was kind of like getting back to normal, but then there was this mask thing that people just didn't really jive with, and I always tell people like. In 2020, like I traveled more than ever in my life.
Oh, yeah.
On the bike, just traveling, and that was actually the first time I went to New York. So I was with another buddy. We were riding around Manhattan.
Yeah.
I mean, hardly anybody out there because we went to the block party in 2020.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And
because I got back the day before.
For real?
Yeah. Oh no, shit. I'm not losing my mind now. Oh yeah. No, I did come back for that. Yeah. Because I was just losing my mind, and I left. LA July and then came back like 2 days prior, but like the beginning of that year was the super crazy emptiness of the streets.
Yeah.
That was the support small business block party.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because of COVID.
It was a good time, man. That was the only one I've ever been to. I'm planning on being at the one this year, somehow, one way. Even if I got to fly out there and just go.
I'll show you around. Let me know.
But you know, that city, man, New York. Like I know what you mean. Like when I'm from here, like I was born like 10 miles away, right? But when I'm in LA and when I'm in New York, those two cities are electrifying to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you feel like you plug into something. Like there's just like I want to get on the groove of what's going on here because it just feels, I don't know. New York is a different feeling than LA, but in the same category, if that makes sense.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot better riding in California and everything else,
Yeah.
but smash around Manhattan and Brooklyn with my friends, it's a lot of fun. Like no sidewalk is safe for this.
Yeah.
Late at
Just
night.
sitting across from Manhattan in Brooklyn, looking at the skyline I always tell people that's never been there, it's like a mountain range.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like the Grand Tetons, but it's digital. It's buildings, and it's still beautiful in my way. And a lot of people just like that. Just I don't like cities. I fucking hate cities. I don't want to be cities. But I'm like that's to me that's a Marvel masterpiece of society, if you will. You know what I mean?
But that area where you're talking about is probably like North 10th and Kent, like the waterfront and everything else.
Well, the area that I stayed in when we rode up there in 2021 on a trip, we stayed on Queensbridge, like right where the bridge crosses over.
Oh, yeah.
And there's there's a cool little hotel right there that's kind of, I guess they're gentrifying that area now too. And had a cool rooftop bar. You can go sit up there and it's like you're a block off of the water.
Yeah.
And dude, it's just during the day or the nighttime, it's just fucking amazing out there, man.
Yeah, I love that view.
Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't really seen it much from the New Jersey side of it, but yeah, in Queens and what is it, Freeport City or something like that, or something like
Greenpoint,
I don't know.
Long Island City.
Long Island City, that's right. Yeah, so good food too, good bars.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that town.
Yeah, New York is good for that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a fun time like learning the subways, figuring out how that works, and then navigating, going from Queens to. We went to a comedy show down there in like Greenwich Village or something like that, and then started hitting bars everywhere. And it's like, oh, let's go try this one up in up towards fucking Midtown or something. And I don't know, it's fucking awesome. I love that place. My wife hasn't been yet, so I want to take her there for block party this year. But yeah, I could see why people probably, especially like artists in general, like would flock to a place like New York or LA.
Yeah, just the art scene there and the openings and just that's the energy. You can feel the energy there, right? I don't get that as much in New York or in LA, but New York, you're walking around everything like you're in it. In LA, you're traveling through it.
Yeah.
So I don't think you.
You kind of got to know in LA, right? It's because my wife, she's from that area, and so we always stay in Venice Beach when we're there. Mm-hmm. And I feel plugged in when I'm in Venice Beach. Like you go walk down Abbot Kinney, and there's cool stuff, or just the houses. Like you never know which house is like an actor, or a comedian, or a musician, or a YouTuber, and it's like I don't know. I like that vibe, that area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
with Los Angeles, you could maybe go to 2-3 places in one night. Where New York, you go to like 6 or 7 spots in an evening, walking. But they each have their own, beauties and.
So when you're traveling on the bike across the country, I mean, are you always scanning, looking to shoot things, even roadside stuff? Like, is that something how do you move about the country that way?
It sort of just depends on timeline. If I'm like rushing to get someplace, like I'll do like minimum 500, 600 miles a day to get somewhere in my schedule in that sense. But I always have like that Ricoh GR1 camera on my side and the iPhone, or today I'm coming to see you, so I didn't even bother packing the camera, just wear it on my chest.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And
that's cool.
Yeah, but and then 90% of the time I ride by myself, so it can always change, or I can pull over. Where with a couple other buddies, like, is that thing cool enough to stop and photograph these guys? Or
yeah, I'm going through that same thing where they've all assured me, just stop, we're good with you, just do what you want to do, but you still feel like an asshole because you're coming up this badass spot and then you stop here and then you get some shots and you're like, get on the bike, you go, oh, this is a better angle, and then you want to stop like not even 2 mile markers down the road from it. You know what I mean? And I just feel like an asshole for doing that.
Although when you pass something cool, you're like, oh, should I turn around? Turn around. It's always closer than you thought it was further away when you do a U-turn and stop and take pictures. Yeah. So it's usually worth it.
So that's kind of like part of the trip that I'm, one of the things, in the past, riding a bagger across the country, like I was always just hauling ass, right? And so doing it on the FXR chop, it'll do 100 miles an hour, but it'll let you know it ain't going to go very long that way. And so it's like slowing down, getting on the back roads. I feel like I'll be more inclined to stop every time I see something rather than just you're going by it so fast, and you know what I mean? It's literally rewiring the brain of how I'm used to traveling, because I'm like you. Like I'll put 500 miles down a day, just to get to where, and then the destination's kind of more important at that time than that journey. So
and then sometimes you look at your phone at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I guess I just didn't take a photo in that state, but but it got some great stuff here, and
So you got some like projects that you're planning on kind of coming out with, like books or any more shows that are going to be coming soon?
The current one, it's my end goal for like all these like side projects is like a coffee table book, is a finished piece to sort of give validity to all the work and shoots you've done in the subject matter. But the current thing is the FTW Brooklyn book. So I've got a creative director working on that, and we have some edits going, and
hell yeah,
that's just 20 years of photographing in Brooklyn only.
Damn.
So from the early Indian Larry stuff to last year's block party, and
is it pretty all motorcycle centric, or is it kind of just all about?
Maybe a little bit of actually it's like 99% motorcycle culture, but there's a little bit of a tiny bit of graffiti and some stuff, but it's paired with bikes and whatnot. But just like even like all the Aiden's rides I would cover, like there's a lot of crazy stuff from those trips. Like when those shot. I don't know if you saw it, like burning down the Brooklyn Bridge. Like that kind of stuff is going in there. So it's been pretty fun look back at all the work,
Yeah, that would, I couldn't even wrap my mind around taking 20 years of work and making it into a book. Like, I get, obviously you've been shooting since the 90s for the most part. So like you have that, that cachet, if you will, of work that you've done.
Yeah, the archive just at Brooklyn is pretty substantial, and then I've had access to a lot of stuff that not a lot of other photographers have had there that I know of anyway. I'm sure there's little pockets, but so that's a pretty cool project. So I'm excited about that.
What kind of timeline do you think you have on that?
I don't know, 2 years ago. But yeah, it's just pretty. I don't know. It's hard to say.
You think it'll be published within the next year or two?
Yeah, I'm trying to do for at least a year, like deadline.
That's cool. Hell yeah.
To try and put some more of the roadmap in there. So I'm trying to sort of build, an audience for it before the work comes out.
Yeah.
So that's why I started a secondary Instagram page.
Are you doing are you self-publishing, or you have a publisher?
I'm not sure. I'd have to work on those. That's like the trickiest part. Those logistics, But this creative director I'm working with, he's done some books of his own, and he has more experience. So when the time comes, I'm going to go from there.
No, that's cool. That's kind of, like figuring, like navigating that world is there's lots of ways you can do it, and figuring out what's the best way to, and also like, I guess what scares me about that is like the printing, right? Like getting all the images to look the way they need to look when they're printed through that format.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Like pre-press and everything else. But yeah, that's the key. If you can be on press when they print it, it's definitely key.
Yeah. Are you thinking, is it going to be like a mainly black and white kind of thing, or are you going to?
No, it's like it's probably both.
Both, yeah.
There's some stuff that I want, the imagery that I want to have in there, but it has to be that shot is color.
Yeah.
So it'll be a bit of both, and then I've been doing a lot of Sons of Speed stuff, like Billy Lane's race.
Yeah.
Like I've covered all the dirt ones in Sturgis, and I've missed 2 of the New Smyrna, like one with COVID, and then I've also do a lot of the board tracker stuff in Europe. So it's always coinciding with some of those dates. So those are some other projects in the queue, so there's no shortage of stuff.
Yeah. You're, like I said, you're bouncing all over the place. It's like, I remember the first time you were coming through, I was like, hey, you want to do the podcast? But you were kind of burning through. But then it's like, you come through here so many times, it seems like, and especially, being good friends with Dan and doing a lot of projects with him. And like, I listened to that podcast a long time ago when y'all did that the Kickstart Might his favorite trip or whatever it was called.
That's the dream trip.
The dream trip. Yeah,
I was on that one though.
Yeah.
But I think they're planning that again. You know, it's like
how's it like traveling out of the country with Dan?
Yeah, well, he'd like try to murder me in Ecuador for like 6 days. That was pretty fun. And then Mexico and Nepal with Dan. But that was all dirt stuff. So I was like, he had that podcast of when we went to Ecuador, and basically he had that was a Pan America trip from Texas down to the bottom of Chile. So I was going to meet him in Ecuador and then go south with him. But instead of then, I'd only be there for 3 days and then go back 3 days by myself. Right, sort of a waste of me being there to cover content for him.
Yeah.
So we just did a whole loop of Ecuador. So the rental company, they didn't have the bike I needed. They had a big group come through there, so they gave me an Africa Twin that was like way too big for me, and I'm tiptoeing off road, following Danger Dan around South America.
Yeah.
And then my off road experience wasn't too awesome. That's basically my first like super off road. Riding. So I learned that one the hard way.
I mean, how do you like if you're trying to capture that photographically, and you're on? I mean, are you riding and shooting, or are you just kind of like setting up things?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Like I try and keep it super safe. Like even if you're the best rider, something could happen. If you're not paying attention. So we'd set up some safe areas and everything else, or I'd be on the side of the road and he would do passes. But I don't shoot too much from the moving bike.
Okay.
I do, depending. If there's no one behind me, it's not a problem. Or if I'm off to the side, something falls off, or I never want to take a photo that's going to hurt somebody. It's like I don't care how amazing the photo is going to be if someone gets hurt. And people have got hurt when they're taking photos. Not to my fault though, but just like you feel bad no matter what, right? Like if it's something stupid.
You got to hold the shutter though to get the whole thing as they wreck.
No, not wrecking, not like that. But I just mean, it's like, you just got to be careful.
Whoever was filming Dan when he fucking hit that car at TMMR, was I'm thankful for whoever did that.
Yeah, that was a GoPro on his helmet.
Oh, it was a GoPro.
Yeah.
I thought I saw two.
There's
like one from
behind him.
Oh yeah.
And then one that was slightly angled.
Yeah. That shit was funny.
But yeah, this I was like, oh, and he comes running out of there. But yeah. And then then I went with them to Nepal, but that was like with Bear.
I want to do that trip, man. Like I listened to his podcast, and then I talked to I think Bare Knuckle Paul and those guys just recently did it too.
Yeah, I was on that same trip.
Oh, you did it with them?
Yeah,
okay.
That was 23 November.
What's that whole experience like doing that with Bear and all them? And just being out there.
Yeah, just like Bear has a group of like 3 or 4 local guys. His crew was super awesome. They're locals. Nepalese and Pakistani and Indian. Like they're awesome, right? The support crew is good. He knows the routes, And then I think it was there's like 7 of us that were pretty good friends. So there was like, even though it's all the big group, you sort of segregate a tiny bit, but it's definitely the crew you're with makes the trip, like if you're having laughs and stuff,
it's almost like getting a couple of your friends together to do the trip, or people that you.
I would recommend at least 2 or 3 of your good buddies to go with you, But granted, you could make friends with everybody, and that's part of the camaraderie and everything as well. But the scenics, the travel, like the river crossings or the suspension bridges, and just the terrain is pretty taxing, and you're riding on the side of cliffs, 100 feet, and it's like you're like, oh. So I'd lead with a little bit with the GoPro over, like looking down, and make it look a little worse for my mom when I send her the video, stuff like that, and it was cool.
No, I noticed they have those kind of things, those kind of like tours that you can do all over the place, like different countries and whatnot too, as well. But
different. Where they have like India's highest road, Mongolia, and then there's also there's obviously competing companies and stuff like that. But you're on a Royal Enfield Himalayan, it's a little more off road setup.
My ultimate goal is to do what Dan did and here all the way to South America. I have no tentative idea when that's going to take place or how that looks, but I'm hoping to get my feet wet with the with Mexico stuff, doing EDR next year.
Oh yeah,
El Diablo run. I want to do that, and then the homies were looking at doing that and just seeing if we can ride all the way down to the bottom tip of
La Paz.
the Baja. Yeah, doing that and then coming back.
Yeah, because that's what we did with when I was with Kickstart Mike, Dan, and Al. But we came in the Mexico side, like Sonora, desert, and Chihuahua, and then rode all the way down through Durango and everything else to Mazatlan, and then took the ferry across to La Paz.
Okay,
and then
rode
up. Yeah.
How? I mean, is it sketchy? I mean, or is it like
the Mexico side is super sketchy.
For real?
Yeah, it was like. Yeah, there's some crazy stories, and then there's some there's literally cartel guys keeping an eye on you when you come to sort of some of the cities and stuff. But we obviously don't. It's Sonora, country, right? It's like, and we didn't look very high, expensive, touristy, guys. It's like we were pretty rugged, so to speak. Little Dan, obviously.
Wasn't Nick on this one too with you?
No.
Oh,
he
Nick
was one of the previous year.
Okay.
Or previous 2 years when they went. Because El Diablo was every 2 years. But then we that was like a 15-day trip, but we finished in San Felipe.
Nice.
So definitely a little haggard, but it was a good time for sure.
Yeah, I want to do that. The way Dan talks about it on his podcast is just, and it's like it's right there. It's like it's they won't let me in Canada because of a drinking incident a long time ago, but Mexico, it just seems like, I don't know, just untapped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I want to experience that pretty bad, but also I want to get comfortable with that uncomfortability, if you will, so that whenever that trip to South America starts to, become a reality, like I've already kind of worked myself into understanding how to kind of move about these lands and stuff like that. So,
but definitely all the South American countries are different, But Ecuador, they're super friendly. Everyone's super cool, like no hassle.
Yeah, I feel like it's Mexico, and then all the ones until you get to the Darien Gap are pretty chill.
Yeah,
and then maybe a couple little spots on the other side of the gap, and then it's pretty chill for the rest of the way, from what I understand from what most people said. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know. I've always said Dan's the kind of guy that he just. A good analogy is like you've seen Forrest Gump, right? Mm-hmm. So there's like scenes in Forrest Gump where he's just, they embed him in like old footage.
Oh yeah.
Dan's just that guy that somehow is like right there, like his whole story of drinking with the president or whatever, what was it?
Oh, the gin company.
Yeah, something like I was like, dude,
yeah. It's like I'm like, that's a really good gin, right? And he was like, oh, it tasted great. I don't know. I was like, dude.
So it's just I always feel like he's the guy that he just finds himself in stuff somehow, like he just wanders into places, but it works out for him every time.
He's got that smile.
He does.
Right? Door opener.
Yep. But yeah, that's cool that you have the book thing coming up. That's exciting, man. Seeing more of that type of stuff come into the motorcycle culture is refreshing. You know what I mean?
Just like I have like a little window in St. Louis for the next 2 weeks. So I'm just trying to pound away at a lot of stuff and catch up, it's just like focus,
You ever thought or have you done a blog or anything like that kind of like?
No, not really.
Do you write much at all?
I do write some editorial for some magazines and stuff like that to go with the photo essays, because that back in the day, that's an easier way to get your photos published if you're also doing the writing aspect of it. So I would still, in that sense. And then I'd have a little bit of a journal that I'll write trip stuff and everything else, but not blog sense.
Yeah, that's one thing I've been trying to do recently is write more.
Yeah.
To really capture like just how you thought and felt about that moment and that time. So that, like I said, if I'm photographing this entire trip over 10 weeks, like, and then not hanging up every night, like obsessing over the images, but kind of like moving
when it's fresh.
Yeah. But putting, words to the days. And then when I come back, I can look and read what I wrote. Or if I want to be lazy, I can just speak into the phone, like some voice notes things.
Exactly. But definitely just like what you saw or different roads you took and everything else. It's easily forgettable. Like if you don't do it when it's fresh, if you wait till the morning, you'll find I've missed stuff. But sometimes you're just, you're soaking wet and exhausted or whatever. You just want to crash.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. It's a challenge and it's fun. But the blog stuff, in my opinion, recently, just as a fan of photography, it's like when you have people that are capturing stuff, you kind of like social media has kind of trained us not to put that much context on it now. It's just like I want a good photo and then move it on, just posting.
Attention
get out of
spans
it.
Too small.
Yeah, and like nerding out about an event reading this, and this is someone's experience, but there's this photographic kind of journal on the side of it. It just, I don't know, it immerses me more. I feel like I gain more value from that than this mindless scrolling all the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
you have to dive into it, right?
Yeah,
Absorb
yeah.
it, as a reader and outputter.
Exactly, exactly. And it's, I don't know, a lot of social media, in my opinion, it's lost its inspiration that it used to have, or at least for me it did. It's still a great tool for meeting people. It still does provide some inspiration, but it's kind of surface level inspiration now. It's like you got to find them and then hope they have some other things that you can kind of dive into to learn more about these people and what they do or create.
Yeah, I sort of use it now as Instagram is more of a visual diary. To keep track of stuff, like where I've been and the dates.
Okay.
And trying to keep everything like cohesive.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That someone said recently on one of the podcasts, I thought was genius. It goes, Instagram needs to make a button so that you can hit it and go all the way to the bottom of your timeline, like your personal profile or anybody's. Like, I want to be able to, because I've had mine. I've never started a new one. Like, I've had mine since 15 on the business and 13 on my personal one. So it's like every once in a while, just this, like you said, the photo journal, the diary, if you will. It's like I'll go back and remember some of that shit just by looking at it. It's curated better than the phone. All the images in my phone. There's nothing to it. So
and you have the best of the best that you're putting up there anyway, right?
Yep.
The good moments for sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
Every once in a while, I'll do like Flashback Friday, but then that's like an image from 2 weeks ago that I didn't post or something.
It's not really that old.
Yeah, because you keep moving to shoot, right?
Yeah,
It's like did all the Fandango stuff, and then you go hang out with Kickstart Mike tomorrow, or today, and go from there, and then it's like I'm doing some beach racing in England, before Loretta Lynn's ranch, and then just to get that block of imagery out before.
Yeah. So you said that you kind of like shoot for a lot of different like publications. Where can people usually?
Well, like a lot of them are all just like folding now, right? Just the businesses and everything else. Like there's some Canadian magazines,
that's cool.
But I don't know if they're gonna. I don't want to say the name if they can get rejuvenated and everything else. But there's like a bunch of different things. And,
I feel like I think I was saying this the other day at Carlos's that I feel like it's almost like to be a successful photographer now, you almost have to be your own publishing, make some kind of mag yourself. And it's like, instead of Hot Bike, the way Hot Bike is this encompassing thing of all the motorcycle industry, it's almost like I want to buy the magazine of Bryan Helm. It's all the shit he's done in this quarter and this quarter and this quarter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I've been researching some of these like smaller run printing companies. You know, they could do like a cool color zine, or even hard books. It's like, get some sample packs, and it's just like maybe I just get some friends to help me with the layouts and stuff like that. More designer-esque mindsets.
Well, they have that program if you do the Adobe stuff, that InDesign.
Yeah, I use that.
I'm trying to learn that program myself right now. So
but like it's just time. Just like
and you're moving a lot.
Sidetracked. Yeah, and it's like time is the most expensive thing.
Yeah,
you learn it the hard way.
Do you does this like current lifestyle have an end date, or is it just kind of an indefinite thing until?
Yeah, I'm still living between storage lockers, right? So like, I don't, I use my mom's younger brother lives in St. Louis, so that's like he was always like my older brother. So that's like I have a mailing address there. I show up there every like 3 months and get my MC Shop tees, my new wardrobe for the next three months or whatever, and then just get some things sent there.
Yeah.
But I was maybe thinking Tennessee area, try and find a spot because it's sort of central.
Yeah.
And get to a lot of places easier. Mm-hmm. But that was supposed to be January. So we'll see.
No, I can understand that, man. It's I've been thinking, my wife and I, we've thought about leaving Dallas too. We just don't know where, and we don't. It's like if we're gonna pay to go live somewhere that costs more, it's like we want to have more.
Yeah.
And we never would have thought of leaving Dallas, but it's the prices of things are starting to kind of be very comparable to some of the bigger cities, not New York and San Francisco, but it's kind of getting to LA prices here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as far as like LA suburb prices, not like, Venice Beach or Santa Monica or, Malibu shit, but
And then, I'm always a big proponent of change and adventure and different things, Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely that. We also I've never lived further north than here. So my relationship with the winter is like,
Well,
like
I got some winter gloves and some parkas for you if you want. I can send over to you.
it's just like, I've talked to some people like after Mama tried that live up there, and I told them that down here it's like I like the idea of like this winter comes and you put the bike up and you're kind of like restarting for the next year, whether you want to build a bike or customize it more or whatever. But it's here, it's like you never hang it up. It's like you might get a snap of a 30-degree temperature for a week and then it's 70 degrees again, and you're out riding t-shirts in January,
Yeah.
So
I think that'd be awesome. I've always had to put it away for a few months.
Yeah.
Like New York, or I've left it in Miami, California.
Yeah.
But can't ride to Calgary. January.
It would be like Scooter Tramp Scotty and just kind of chase the good weather all over the place, man. That's cool, man. I think it's like it's interesting to me just finding like different photographers like yourself and how you're finding a way to do what you love and live and be content with life and things like that. And sometimes it looks like the way you're living. You know what I mean? To stay doing what you love to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. To keep my overhead low and my adventure high.
Yeah. So what's your favorite trip you've ever done outside of the country on a bike? Like,
well, that Nepal trip was pretty unbeatable.
Yeah.
And I went there like a week early just for the documentary side to cover Kathmandu. It's like that was pretty incredible. But but South America's awesome. I'm trying to do more stuff outside of the U.S. and Canada. But
yeah. So the Nepal thing, like you go up to base camp, right? That's kind of like the end of the trip.
No. That's, Muktanov is quite a high part.
Okay.
We were like literally sleeping with, you could see your breath and stuff like that. But then I actually went with Darren McKeague. We took a helicopter up to sort of leapfrogs to pass the first base camp to like it was like 20,000 feet.
Damn.
Or 20,000 feet. I think my numbers might be off, but it's higher than the first base camp. And then the air is pretty thin. We hadn't acclimatized, so they can only take the pilot and 2 people up in the helicopter. Then they ferried 2 other people back and dropped them off. So we got out and you could see Everest in the background, and then I hopped out of that helicopter, taking some photos, and you just start getting everything really dreamy and you get sort of dumber in my case.
Loopy and stuff.
Yeah. It's just like, and then we had like 10 minutes out there, hop back in the helicopter, and then you start feeling really nauseous. And then it took off and went down as it sort of descends. Then you feel that sickness leave your body.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So that was not all the people went on that trip, but then they take you on a plane around Everest and everything else. But
I don't know if I'd do a plane.
Yeah, but the
helicopter seems scary too, though.
Yeah, the helicopter was pretty cool for sure.
Okay.
But because it doesn't have the lift, the air is so thin, so it has to like shed weight. So they even leave fuel down there and everything else.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know, man. I guess I'm thinking of this as kind of like a very, not primitive is the right word, but definitely a, no regulations kind of thing. And then you're in like little airplanes and shit like that.
Yeah. But I'm Lukasa, I think, or Luxa is the most dangerous airstrip. So you land in there.
Oh,
and then you get more fuel and then go from there.
Damn.
The planes are landing in there. There's a little clip on my site from there. It was pretty crazy. It's like,
yeah, that's wild, man. I think it'd be cool to do stuff like that, and especially adding a camera to the mix now, and not just the riding experience, but the way you capture it and things like that is. I don't know. I need a goal though. I need a goal for like what I want to try to capture. I'm a very goal driven person, which is kind of like another friend of mine that's a photographer is like that's the thing that you're trying to control everything that happens in front of you all the time instead of just riding with it, and you know what I mean. So
yeah, but I had a friend people have their New Year's resolution and everything else.
Yeah.
He's like, instead of that, you just write a letter to yourself every January 1st of things you want to do this year, and then check it out at the end of the year next year.
See
and
what you did. Yeah.
Either add it to your next one. Like, it's just like, motorcycle adventures, countries you want to go to, like career goals, all this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I thought that helped a lot too. I've been doing that for a few years.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so it's instead of like seeing it on a whiteboard in your house, it's more like once you write it down kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like it gets your brain thinking on it, you know? Like so like I want to go to Morocco and just like shoot all the sand dunes and ride dirt bikes in Morocco in the fall or something, you know? Or,
does your like, are you like a U.S. citizen or are you still Canadian?
both now.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a U.S. passport,
but
Canadian passport.
The Canadian passport probably gets you into a lot more places than the American one will.
I choose where I use it for sure, you know, or where I'm flying to and whatnot, you know. But I literally, because I had a green card with the marriage and stuff like that, and then but I had to be in the country for 6 months of the year or 6 months and a day, so I wanted to have that option to be elsewhere, if need be, you know.
No, that's cool. Yeah, the Morocco thing would be fucking amazing. That, I don't know. I feel like, you know, there's lots of good imagery that comes out of that area, but I feel like the other side of Africa gets so much more attention with like some of those, you know, Egypt and you know, more towards Mount Kilimanjaro and all that stuff. All those, you know, with that. What do they have, like the Suez Canal that goes through that area too and stuff? So
but that goes to show you, like one of my favorite photographers, Albert Watson, this old school celebrity, just wicked photographer. Like the king of Morocco hired him to do a book on the country, right? Like years and years ago. It's called Morocco. So just like I've always wanted to go there because of that, but then have the motorcycle element in there, you know, so you get the best of both worlds, like walking through the markets, the souks, and you know, seeing the people. And, and then adventure.
I think it'd be rad to just do like I don't know how it works because I've never been out of the country, so this is all like kind of ignorance, if you will. But like to be able to have a bike in say Spain and just literally ride a bike through all of like that part of more Western Europe, I guess. Yeah. Like towards Greece, I guess, which I guess is more Eastern Europe, but Portugal, just all that stuff, you know, that'd be fucking amazing to me. Just I've always said like seeing the country or seeing landscapes from a motorcycle as a first perspective is so much like different to me than like if I always think of like to see the pyramids, right? How sick would it be? You're cruising on this bike and then you see one peak over like a mountain over there or like in the horizon, like, dude, I think it's one of the pyramids, and you get closer and it just starts to reveal itself versus, I don't know, you land in an airplane, you saw it from the sky, then you know, it's like, I always say this for the Golden Gate Bridge. You can go into San Francisco and you see it the entire time coming. Yeah. But if you stay on the outside and you come back to the Golden Gate Bridge, it kind of just reveals itself. Yeah. And it's more of it's like you take it in faster, or not faster, but it's like, it's more impactful. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but speaking of your pyramids, it's like a different kind of Devil's Tower.
Yeah.
You come around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's different. I fantasize about that way of like seeing parts of the world, you know what I'm saying, through it on the back of a bike. So
you know, the speed, the air in your face, smells, obviously, you know, it's definitely more in tuned to where you are.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So, but those are the kind of things I want to find, like you're saying, the book and this photographer. And I've only literally less than a year been diving back and looking for publications through different photographers and looking for different books from different people. And we have this vintage place in Dallas, and it's like a kind of like a flea market, if you will, but everybody comes and sets up their stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple people that they have like installments there all the time that just have old books, but they're usually like photograph books or something like that. From like, I got one from one of the photographers that shot a lot of Playboy, and so there's a little bit of that aspect, but then there's his other work, and you know, and then there's just different things like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Don't tell me where this is. I'm gonna have to get a trailer for the bike.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look, I'll keep it on secret.
No room.
But it's kind of hit or miss. You go in there, you never know what they have. But it's like I went down there Sunday. I was just cruising around, and all I had was a sling for my camera, and I bought a book, and I had to fucking like duct tape it to the bag because I don't have any bags on the FXR. So it was just. But then I came home and just fucking flipped through it. It's this thick. It's a Tashcan book, so really nice quality stuff. And had a buddy buy me Annie Leibovitz, like one of her books. It's like a huge coffee table one. It's just like all her more, not her Rolling Stone days photography, but more of the commercial work she's done for like, you know, all the Vogues and, you know, movie stuff that she shot. So it was pretty interesting to flip through all that kind of shit, you know.
Yeah, it's like you'd be amazed at the stuff you find in like the most nondescript bookstores or here or there. You know, it's like,
well, it's crazy how how predominant books, magazines were.
yeah,
At through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then it just kind of tapered off. But now, I feel like it's kind of like how film photography's taken. A lot of people were going that direction, or records.
Yeah,
it's like something to take you out of your phone more than anything.
Yeah, it's like that's why I said it's a little depressing, all the magazines folding and stuff, because I just I like tangible things. I like to make photographs of friends rather than emailing them or whatever.
Yeah,
it's something that they could put on their fridge or in their room, or it's in a drawer or something. They can come across a little 4x6 print, right?
Yeah.
You remember that moment or whatever, and you have a little nice moment, right? Whereas if it's just a digital file sitting on an email or your phone, you're not going to really stumble across it as easy.
Yeah, I don't feel like you take it in the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
No,
there's a little bit more sentiment to it, and your personal time and effort.
Yeah, yeah. A little
crazy shit. It's like Saturday night, me and my wife were drinking some wine, and she had just came back from her grandmother's house, and she brought a lot of her photos from when she was in high school. And so we were kind of like flipping through the photos because she had just left them at her grandma's house. Yeah. And we're just drinking wine, and she was telling me stories about it. It's like, that's not the same when you do that on your phone.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
Because you gotta scroll past a couple of them, and you don't want no one to see it. It's like,
yeah.
But no, that's cool, man. I like that shit, dude.
Timeless.
Yeah. I think we're gonna get back to that. It's just a pendulum swinging. I think people. If we, like what you just said, what I just said, if we're not inherently happy just scrolling on our phones and having things there, then we're going to make things for this area, and there's other people in the world that feel that way, they'll consume it. I think books, magazines on the scale that they were just isn't reality, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But there's always going to be a market to buy those things. And if you really think about it, like, we only need 1,000 people to buy something from us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We don't need 100,000 people to buy something we make. And 1,000 can even be, a big stretch depending on what it is. So I just think that we kind of got turned into, okay, if I have this many followers, that equates to this. If I make this, I can make 500,000 of them and sell these. Is like, no, that's not reality. Mm-hmm.
Get the 1% of that, maybe buy something.
Yeah. So I'm excited, but
quality, not quantity.
Exactly. Well, I don't want to keep it up your time too much, man. I know you're moving about the country right now, so I really appreciate you coming in to do this, and I just wanted to kind of, get to know you a little bit, and we'll pass each other some more times and stuff like that.
Share a meal, have some more laughs.
Yeah,
always happy. Thanks for the invite.
Well, I appreciate it, Bryan. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bud.